I'm really excited to be trying out this new series that's going to really get you involved with the channel. So this new series that I'm trying out, I'm calling it Practice Analysis. And basically what it is you send in a clip of you practicing. It can be just like a short warm-up, like 5 minutes working on like a technical passage, or like a longer, fuller practice session. And I'll watch through it and sort of do some analysis of it and give you some tips to improve your practicing and make your practicing more efficient. To start off for this first one, just to sort of show you how it works, I actually recorded myself practicing a bit of an excerpt, and then I'm going to analyze myself practicing so you can get an idea of what this is like. If you're interested in having one of your practice sessions analyzed like I'm going to do with my own in this video, check the description for information on how to submit a clip to be analyzed. So without further ado, let's jump into it and analyze my practice session. So what I'm working on here is the fourth movement of Lincolnshire Posy, the Brisk Young Sailor. It's a pretty standard band excerpt, and I've been working on some different military band auditions. So this was an excerpt I was preparing for that, and am preparing for future auditions. And it's just a good, fun technical excerpt to know. So yeah, I think that's enough backstory for what is happening here and what I'm practicing. So let's get into analyzing some of it. Cool, so that was just pretty much a run through of the whole thing. I think that's an okay way to start out, just to sort of see where it's at. I really especially like that for excerpts because you just have to like play them right off the bat. So yeah, let's keep going and see what I work on next. Cool. So that basically this whole like analysis and all of my practice analysis is going to be all about like the 3 I's of practicing to make sure that we're going through things efficiently. So if you haven't seen my video on the 3 I's of practicing, you should check that out because I'll be talking about that a lot in this. So I did a decent job there. So I sort of identified that this part was tricky and difficult. And I was isolating it, and I did a decent job in my isolating and improving, but I want to talk about a couple things that I think I could have done better. So I did a lot of repetitions and a lot of pretty fast repetitions. I think as I was practicing this, I was thinking that I know this excerpt pretty well, and it's pretty well in my fingers, so it's just a matter of getting more comfortable and making sure I can do it like up to speed consistently. But I think there's actually more benefit I can get out of from simplifying it more. And that's the most important part of the isolating and improving phase of the 3 I's, is to simplify things and then gradually work towards my goal. So I did that a little bit with I would go slow, so that's a simplification, but then I would immediately go faster. So that was not a great gradual working of my way towards the end goal. So I think I could have went slow was good and then gradually worked it up towards the end goal. Same thing with when I did the small chunks where it's just doodle-diddly-doo, doodle-diddly-doo. That was a good way to simplify again by breaking it down into smaller chunks. I think it would also be beneficial to practice some medium-sized chunks instead of just doing small, 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 and then the whole thing. I could do small, small, medium, small, small, medium, and then the whole thing. But yeah, let's keep going and see what else I do. Yeah, this is good with repeating this stuff. There's definitely some inefficiencies in my fingers. I can tell I'm not always landing back in the exact same spot on the keys. And maybe I'm just moving my fingers a little bit too much and they're not keeping their natural curve as they're moving. So maybe doing this thinking about the finger motion as I'm doing all of these repetitions and giving myself more directed things to be working on and focusing on as I'm doing these repetitions would be beneficial. Yeah, that was a good job noticing that high C was popping out and then correcting that. And I did it a couple times to correct it, which was good. Yeah, I was shaking out my hands, not because they were sore or anything. It would be bad if they were sore, but there's just a little bit of tension in there that I was just trying to remember to stay loose and relax with my fingers. That's a good example of, again, not necessarily a simplification, but changing something so that when I go back to do it again, it's going to be better. That's the goal when we're practicing and doing isolating and improving. We have to do something to make it improve. We can't just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. We have to have something specific in mind that we're trying to make better each time. So it looks like I'm trying to make the fingers more relaxed, which is a good plan. Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is really close, and I'm just it's so close that I just want to do it and get it right. But I think I would actually get more benefit from changing more things, going more slowly. I also wasn't able to do a metronome because I had to use my phone to record and my metronome's on my phone. But I think it would be really important to be practicing this stuff with a metronome to make sure that it's really even and steady. Yeah, I can hear some leaking out of my corners, I think. It's almost buzzing out of the corners, which I don't think I was aware of that when I was practicing. So that's something that's important to be aware of to fix. I like how I'm sort of adding more chunks back together, adding previous stuff and trying to now integrate it a little bit. I've done my isolating and improving, and now I'm moving on to the integration. I think that's going pretty well, actually. I like how I'm doing that. And this is a bigger integration. Yeah, so some of that stuff that I worked on was like a little bit better, but not tons better than the first time I played through it. I think I definitely needed to spend more time on the isolating and improving to make sure that that's going well. Let's see if I do that now. Yeah, that one was like borderline in insanity practicing, where I was just repeating the same thing like again, and not really doing anything different to make it better, but expecting a different result. It's a really fine line between doing repetitions with it going well and how you want, and doing those repetitions to build that into your muscle memory, and doing repetitions where you want it to be better, but it's not getting better. You have to make sure that you're really clear with yourself in your head. Is this repetition, am I trying to change something to make it better, and what am I changing to make it better? Or is this a repetition of, I liked how it went, and now I just want to make sure that I can do it again equally as well multiple times so that I get some consistency. I think that one was very borderline. I think I liked how it was going, but it could have been a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah, so this is good. I tried to integrate the whole thing, and it went pretty well, but there was still some stuff where I felt uncomfortable. So I'm going back and re-isolating and re-improving that. Again, I think I'm too eager to speed up to a really fast speed, and I think I would actually get more improvement out of this going slowly. I'm going to skip ahead a bit to where I'm doing something new. This is actually good. Now I'm sort of integrating, but all at like a little bit calmer, slower in the middle ground speed. It's not a slow speed like I was doing when I was isolating it, and it's not as fast as it needs to go eventually. But this is good sort of middle of the ground practicing where I'm taking my simplification and moving towards the goal. So I actually like that a lot. Let's keep going ahead. So with that, I did probably like 3 times that I didn't really like and maybe once that I did like. So I think that might be a good candidate to, once I get it sounding good the way that I want, do that a few more repetitions to make sure that it's always going to go the way that I want. Yeah, that was another good example where I was just sort of going along, hit something that I didn't go quite right, and I went back and fixed it, and it didn't go quite right, like again 3 or 4 times, and then I only did it right once before going on. I think the reason why I'm doing that here is because this stuff is a little bit easier, and I know I can typically do it correctly more, but right now I did quite a few wrong, so I think it would be definitely worthwhile to make sure to balance that out with lots more good repetitions. Good, so this is actually, it just seems like I'm playing random stuff, but I actually think it is worth doing, and it's actually sort of a kind of simplification, where I'm struggling with like the timbre and the tone on this opening throat tone G, so I'm playing around it in a couple different ways and trying to simplify it basically into like sort of a warm-up-y scale, long tone kind of thing, to focus on getting the sound going really well in a more simple environment in that kind of a warm-up activity exercise. I think that's good. I think that can be helpful for focusing the sound so that when I go to play this, then hopefully it'll sound better. Let's see if it pays off. Good, that's another example of doing it simplified. So it's the staccato higher notes is what I'm having difficulty with and what I didn't like. So I'm making it longer, which is a way of simplifying staccato articulation, is to do it legato. And I like the way my articulation sounds when it's legato. But again, I sort of just skipped straight to the end goal instead of progressing from the simplification to the end goal. So I should have done like some middle length articulations and then gotten it to be short. I also sort of like feeling my embouchure here. That's another good example of something I'm trying to change and something I'm actively thinking about to try to improve it. So that's always good to see things that are actively being changed in the practice process. Yeah, Yeah, and that active practicing where I did it longer and then shorter, even though I could have been more gradual with it, and checking in the embouchure, I think that made a big difference on the sound. So that was a good, useful practice technique. Great. Can you guess what was wrong with what I just did in that little thing? I've said it a lot. I think that's going to be the big takeaway from this analysis. It was that I again simplified it, went slower, worked on it, and then just jumped straight back to the goal. And there was no in between to get me from the simplification to the goal. It's really important to be doing this. I think the reason I'm not doing it is because I'm like, I know how this goes. Like, I can play this. I'm just gonna simplify it a little bit to like check on it, and then I can do it. But I can't because it's not making it that much better. So there needs to be more gradual stuff in between here. Yeah, just on that, going through those staccato things, I wanted to slow down a lot, so practicing with the metronome would have helped that. It looks like I was at least aware that I was slowing down and went back to do it at tempo. That was good. I can definitely tell like this knuckle is straightening out sometimes, so I'm probably pushing too much with that and not keeping a good curve. I'm also getting more tense when I'm getting into the more technical stuff, so these are just like picky clarinet things, not so much about the practice technique, but I think it's worth pointing out. I also think in the da-da-dee, 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 not each of those notes was coming out quite as clearly as I want, so maybe I shouldn't have moved on from that, and I could have maybe identified that and been more aware of that. But let's see what I do for this last minute here. It looks like I'm mentally preparing to do a run through. I like that. Good, and that's that. So just talking over that last little bit, I really liked how I was sort of preparing and getting in the zone. And that's more about practicing performing, because when we practice, we want to catch every mistake and fix every single mistake, but in a performance, we don't do that, obviously. So it's good to have some practice, like running through. I did it when I started to have sort of like a cold run and see how that went. I did it after I practiced, and I think that was good. I think maybe I could have spent a little bit more time to reflect on how the performance went and think about how those things that I practiced, what translated and what didn't translate. And again, I think the big takeaway is those things that didn't translate were because I went simplified to fix the things and improve it, and then just jumped straight to the goal, and I didn't have any gradual progression through that. So that would be like the biggest takeaway for myself, is that I need to gradually progress from the simplified version to the end goal and not jump and skip over that. And that'll help all of the improvement to stick much better. So I hope you enjoyed watching practice analysis of my own practice session. If you want to send in a practice session for me to analyze and help you out with, then check the information in the description on how to do that. Definitely send in a little bit of like context for like what you're practicing and why you're practicing, and maybe how long you've been practicing it, so I know, and what your end goals are for it. And that'll help me to give you more effective feedback and analysis of your practicing. Again, it doesn't have to be like super good audio quality or video quality. Like you can just pull up like the selfie on your phone or whatever, or even just send in audio if you don't want to be on camera, is totally fine. Just get me something of you practicing, and I'll be happy to do an analysis of it to have up on the YouTube channel to help other people, as well as give you some really great feedback on what's going well and what you can improve about your practicing. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel to see any future practice analyses of other people or of yourself, and I hope to see you in another video.